Field of 68 after dark. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a thriller to talk about. One of the best college basketball games you were going to see all season long. Number 10 Creighton took down number 9 Arkansas 90-87. We're going to talk about all of that. We got a Creighton player coming on the show here in about 5 minutes. My name is Rob Dauster. I'm joined tonight by John Henson, North Carolina legend, and Jeff Goodman, who is not really all that legendary in his own right.
Come on. Come on. Henson knows I'm a legend in my own mind.
We're presented by our partners over at Bet River Sportsbook, and we have a ton to talk about tonight, guys. Creighton, Arkansas, Texas Tech, Louisville. The bottom of the ACC is very questionable. The top of the Big Ten looks really, really good. And, of course, we need to talk about our favorite cities to get into the Final Four. Before we do all of that, the toast of the night, my favorite part of the night. John, I am going to you first on this one. Grace us.
You know, I had two, right? The St. John's, I was going to toast to them, right? They were, when I left the room, they were up. And now it's overtime. But I must flip over to UVA. They had a tough year last year, and now they look primed and ready to go. Tony Bennett's got those guys geared up. I love how they're playing. I'm a Carolina guy, but I do enjoy how they're playing. Simple, good.
We got to tell, hey, Rob, we got to tell John the rules. So the rules are you got to toast on somebody that did something today. Am I wrong?
You can do whatever you want. Hey, listen, Goodman. It's John Henson's world. The rest of us are just living in it, okay?
He's got one.
Final toast of the day, I'm going to go. Let's go. Can we go Anthony Black, Arkansas? I mean, it might have been a coming out party for him. I was talking to guys earlier. I was like, where's he at on the draft boards? This kid, he's a 7-point guard that hit 20-something, 6 and 6. So I'm going to give my toast of the day to him. He's actually one of my favorite players I've been watching, and I'm kind of excited to see where he goes, especially when, they get their star back, Nick Smith. So it's going to be – that's my toast.
Goodman?
Listen, no, I like that toast. And if I was going to toast the player, it might be Anthony Black. I'm going to toast to April in 2028 to Las Vegas. Ooh. I'm going to be about 100 years old. I might have a wheelchair. I might have a walker, a cane. I have no idea, but I'm going to be in the clubs in Vegas. I'm going to be on the blackjack tables in Vegas, and I'm going to be watching the Final Four in Vegas in Allegiant Stadium, 2028. We won't talk about 2027, at least not yet, but 2028, here we come, baby. Vegas, Final Four.
Goodman, it's going to be my birthday on the first night that we're in the Final Four that year. My birthday is going to be that first night in the Final Four.
You are not going to get up the next morning.
I'm not. I might just show up a day late.
Yeah,
I might just show up a day late is what I might have to do. So my toast of the night is going to go. I'm going a little out of the box on this one. I am toasting to Andrew Nembhard, not Ryan Nembhard. I'm toasting to Andrew Nembhard, who all through halftime and all through the under 4 timeout at the end of the first half, we heard an ESPN commentator talking about how great of a night Andrew Nembhard was having. I don't even know if he was playing. He certainly wasn't playing out in Maui. So Andrew Nembhard, you got a ton of attention today. Cheers.
He's starting for the Pacers now. Andrew Nembhard's having a hell of a season so far for the Pacers. And his brother Ryan had a hell of a night tonight.
Not a bad one. He had 25, 5, and 5 to match Anthony Black, which is a perfect segue while we wait for our guests to jump on here. John, first impressions from this win for Creighton. How good do you think they are? Was this a result of just them getting hot in the moment? Like, what's your overall takeaway on this Creighton team?
I mean, when you take a team like Creighton that, doesn't play big time teams necessarily in conference, or I guess they do now, but, you take a team like Creighton that, people kind of skeptical on, and they come and beat an athletic, young NBA caliber type of team. It's kind of scary, right? Like, because I thought Creighton was going to win because I thought they were just a good, solid team. But the big boy down there, he was defending the rim, blocking shots. Nembhard was playing well. Scheierman was doing his thing. I mean, he looked really good. So they're a force to be reckoned with. I mean, you got to put those guys right in the running for winning a championship. How they handled Arkansas, even Arkansas didn't have one of their best players.
Yeah, they were awesome. They were awesome, and the beauty of Creighton has always been that they can score, right? Greg McDermott has always had guys that can score. He's kind of one of the best offensive minds probably in college basketball. But you know what I think this team has? They don't they have multiple ball handlers on the court at all times, right? Obviously, Nemhard's the primary ball handler, but Trey Alexander can make plays. Scheierman can make plays for himself, for others. He sees the court well. He can pass it. He's got size, all of that. And then you've got a couple dudes, like Kalkbrenner is so good defensively. And Kaluma was in foul trouble and really didn't play well today. And they won despite that. He was turning the ball over way too much. They've got 5 really, really high-level players that all fit the way Greg McDermott wants to play, and they're better, Rob, defensively than they've been in years.
Yeah, that's what their anchor is, right? They can get out and they can pressure on the perimeter because, like John said, they got that big fella in the paint. They can kind of funnel everything to him, and he's going to erase stuff at the rim. I thought it was really interesting how what Muss likes to do. We were talking about this a little bit off air. What Muss loves to do is find one weakness and attack it over and over and over again. And that was basically flat ball screens, which means they set up Anthony Black at half court more or less. They put whoever Kalkbrenner was guarding at the top of the key, and they just let Black run off of him, try to get the defender on his hip, and then play 2-on-1 with Kalkbrenner in the middle. And it worked for about the first 8 minutes really well in the second half. And then what they did was switch to a zone. So I thought it was really interesting that that McDermott was willing to switch the defenses that he was playing and go to some. I don't know how much they practice zone. I'm guessing not all that much if you're that good defensively man to man, but you're right. It's the defense that they can play and the way they can get stops that stand out.
I mean, they were going blow for blow. I had to do a double take because it's Creighton on the jersey, right? Like they were going blow for blow, like they were Power 5 blue chip type school. So it's he's got something boiling down there, man. So I'm excited to kind of see what they do this year, kind of with the hype now behind them now.
How about Nemhard's dunk, huh? Did you jump out of your seat? I almost woke my entire house up.
That threw me off a little bit too, man. I was like, oh, I kind of jumped off the couch. So that was fun, man.
All right, so we have Baylor Scheierman here joining us, the star of the Creighton Blue Jays. There's Rob Anderson, their SID. Rob, can you guys hear us now? We are live, Baylor. Congratulations on the win, and I guess you're still muted. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Good. So
why don't you have the headband on, Baylor? No headband for the interview?
No, it's just for the game, man.
All right.
Well, listen, man, congratulations on the win. I'm assuming if you were a college basketball fan growing up, you probably watched a lot of Maui Invitational games. It's one of the legendary events during the season. You got a chance to play there, got to play in an all-time classic, and you got a win. What was it like experiencing that game and that atmosphere?
Yeah, it was like a dream come true, to be honest. Like you said, I grew up watching the Maui Invitational in Aurora, Nebraska, so I never really thought, I'd be in Hawaii playing in it. But, ultimately that's why I chose to come to Creighton to play these big-time games. And it was just a phenomenal atmosphere, two, great teams going at it. And that's what you dream of.
John, go ahead.
Quick question, man. Just kind of going to go a little off basketball, man. You had a good game. Hey, I love watching you play. So I want to go on a nice night out, dinner, all that good stuff. Brookings, South Dakota, or Omaha, Nebraska?
I know more spots in Brookings. I haven't been in Omaha that long. I mean, I grew up there, but I'd probably say Omaha. I'd say Omaha.
You should. Okay. You should.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that you're there now, man. Now that you're there, you have to say it.
There's great steakhouses in Omaha. The steak's phenomenal.
Right. You got the beef down there. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
When I came out there, Baylor, actually years ago, Greg and Doug McDermott, I'm sure Greg paid, Doug didn't pay. It was before Doug started making real money. They took me to the Drover in Omaha. Ridiculous things.
Yeah, I've heard good about
it. And Omaha's a great, it's a great city that I don't think people really understand. Like, if you haven't been there, you don't know how cool that city is in that area and how much they love Creighton basketball. For you, when you were going through the process, leaving South Dakota State, a lot of people thought you were going to go to Nebraska. It was closer to home. That was kind of the word I got early, was Nebraska was going to be the leader. You chose Creighton instead. Why and how well does it fit your game, that offense?
Yeah, well, it fits my game perfectly. A lot of people have been asking, how has the transition been so smooth? Well, it's just it's really the only thing that's changed is the players I'm playing with. The system, it really hasn't been much of an adjustment for me at all. And then, choosing Creighton over Nebraska, I knew what kind of team we were going to have at Creighton, and I wanted to play against the best every single night and have a chance to, showcase my talent on the national stage, and make a deep run and ultimately, try to win a national championship. And I thought Creighton gave me the best chance for that.
So I want to ask you about Ryan Nembhard, specifically his dunk. We were just talking about that right before you jumped on. Have you seen that out of him before? Because I saw him going down the lane and I saw Arkansas's big fella stepping up. I was like, what? Where's he go? Oh, okay. That's what he's doing. Did that catch you guys off guard too? Or have you seen that before?
No, we've seen that before. I didn't catch me off guard a single bit. He always does the gather step too. I knew it was coming as soon as he took off.
All right, so you go up against one of the most athletic teams in the country. What was it like being out there? I mean, last year you're in the Summit League. Now you're playing against, 6'7" Anthony Black. Brazil is a freak athlete. Jordan Walsh is a freak athlete. I think in a way, you might have caught him at the right time without Nick Smith early on in the season. They're going to get better and better. I know you guys are too. But what was it like playing against that high level of athleticism today?
Yeah, obviously it was a lot different than South Dakota State playing in the Summer League, but it was a lot of fun. Kind of got a little taste of it going through the NBA process and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I can say. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I came to play against the highest level of dudes and see how I stack up, and I'm pretty confident in my ability to play. So it was a lot of fun.
I want to ask you about the big fella, Kalkbrenner inside. That knowing that you have that massive human being at the rim, is it make it a little bit easier for you defensively? Do you feel a little bit more comfortable maybe gambling for a steal, getting out and pressuring a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't played with a 7-footer ever in my basketball career. So knowing that he's back there, it takes a lot of pressure off us up front, knowing that maybe we can gamble every once in a while. But, kind of just having that safety net back there is very calming on the defensive end.
Were you the center in high school? Were you the tallest guy on your team?
I was the tallest guy on the team. I didn't play center. I played guard, but I guarded their biggest dude. Yeah, I was the biggest dude.
Hey, so look, can we get a look at the tee? Like, it's a new age in college basketball.
Oh, right? I like that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, look at that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, get yourself some. Barstool Sports, man.
Hey, they went up today.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
What's it been like NIL wise for you, Baylor? I know I'm not going to ask you exactly how much money you made as a guarantee for going, but I know Creighton does NIL well. Yeah. I know that for a fact from even a year ago. They were one of the teams that was ahead of the game with NIL. What's it been like for you now? Because you didn't have, I assume you had nothing NIL a year ago at South Dakota State.
Yeah. I didn't really have much at South Dakota State. Obviously, coming to Creighton, it's definitely been a blessing. Definitely, a lot of hard work rewarded. But also at the same time, I'm focused on, trying to make it to the NBA and hopefully making a lot more money on the back end than right here. So, but it's definitely been a blessing for sure.
Yeah, nice to get a little bit of money in the pockets.
Give me the one thing you've been able to get this year. Like, what's the one big purchase that you were able to get that you were like, I got to do this?
I really haven't bought that much, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, really, yeah, I really haven't bought anything. I bought this. This was pretty expensive. I'm not going to lie. But I mean, other than that, yeah, I really haven't bought it.
Ask Henson. Hey, ask Henson what he got with his first NBA paycheck. What's a big purchase?
When I bought me a Range Rover. I bought a Range Rover. That's always interesting because when I was in school and we got our scholarship checks or whatever, I was like buying I bought like a flat screen. That was like my biggest. I was like, yes, I get a flat screen TV. So
yeah,
times have changed. I see. And also one more thing: has there been any Nate Walters sightings? Is that way or was?
I've never met him. I think we follow each other on social media.
Okay.
But yeah, I never met him. I've never met him.
He was my draft class, man. That was my guy. So
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome. Hey, how much of an advantage is it, Baylor, having three guys out there that are kind of point guards? I know you're not, maybe a straight point guard, but you could play the point. Yeah. Obviously, Trey can play the point, and we know Ryan's a point.
Yeah. I mean, it just takes pressure off every single one of us. I mean, I think that's one of the blessings of being at Creighton and having the team we do have is, last year at South Dakota State when we're playing these big times big time teams have to have the ball in my hands all the time, and they're keying on me all the time. And having great players around me allows me kind of just to play a lot more free and opens up things for me so I can have nights like I did tonight.
Yeah. Well, listen, you're gonna have a lot of nights like tonight for the rest of the season. I'm excited to watch you guys and where you end up this year. Appreciate you joining us. Go get some rest, man. You got another game coming up in what? 20 hours, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's quick. We play at 12 tomorrow. I don't know what time it is here.
You can't sleep now. Who are you kidding? There's no way you can fall asleep right now.
No, not right now. Give me a couple hours.
Exactly. You got to wind down from that one.
Yeah, I got to wind down.
Listen, congrats, man. I saw you last year in the NCAA tournament. Loved you. Loved your game. Loved the way you play. Your court vision is ridiculous. Passing ability. And you guard a little bit now, too. I like it.
Come on now. I have to show it in the summit. Come on now.
No question. No question. Congrats, man. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Baylor. That was Baylor Scheierman, the star of the Creighton Blue Jays. We're going to talk about Arkansas here just in 1 second. I want to ask you guys, though, I'm a little bit worried about the fact that Creighton doesn't really get any production from the bench, right? I think they got, what was it today? I got it up here. They got 3 points from their bench. They got a total of 25 minutes. And I thought it was obvious that the guys coming off the bench weren't ready for that level of game. So, John, let me ask you this first. Is this something more where you can develop it throughout the year if you're Coach McDermott? Is it something where guys just got to be able to figure out what their job is, or do you just ride with your dudes at this point?
I think it's a ride with your dude situation. You give your guys rest when you can, specifically off the court practices and things like that, recovery. And, hopefully, it doesn't become a situation where when it comes down to March, they'll be there at the end somehow, some way. They had their guys stay healthy because, if you look at a team like North Carolina, had they had a little more depth, I think they win that championship. So hopefully that doesn't come into play, but it's early. They're kids. It's a new day and age in sports. They're not lifting 8 times a week like we were, I think they'll be all right. I think they'll be fine.
Goodman, are you worried?
Yeah, I am. Well, I just think McDermott's got to pick his spots and find these guys more time, whether it's Mason Miller, whether it's Frederick King, whether it's Farbello. Like those guys tonight, you couldn't do it, right? I mean, this was too high level a game. You just couldn't trust some of those guys tonight. But I think you've got to pick your spots here coming out of Maui, maybe when you've already built up some equity and maybe run off 3 straight to win this thing. Then you can say to yourself, hey, you know what? I'm going to be able to do it some of these bye games, certainly, and even some of the conference games against the lower level, the Georgetowns of the world. You better play those guys.
Yeah, I honestly, I think that it said a lot more about Arkansas, the fact that those guys couldn't end up playing. I mean, Farbello transferred in from the Big 12. We've seen Sharif Mitchell have good moments in Big East play, right? And we know, I know Mason Miller and I know Frederick King are guys that McDermott feels very good about. So let's talk about this Arkansas team. The thing that really impressed me more than anything else, you guys already hit on this, was Anthony Black. I did not Goodman, I did not expect him to come in and have this level of ability already. Like, he is just so calm and composed in ball screens that you can't teach that, right? You just kind of have that. And for a kid that's 19 years old, to be able to come off and make some of those reads and make some of those plays and have that feel, I could not have been more impressed watching him play.
He was awesome. He was awesome on both ends, right, John? I mean, usually freshmen don't come in and want to guard. And offensively, we saw what he could do, handling the ball, making good decisions, scoring when he needed to. But to me, I think what gives this Arkansas team a chance to maybe get to a Final Four and maybe win the whole thing is you've got freshmen that were highly ranked guys that want to come in Black and Jordan Walsh that want to guard. That to me separates them.
And Walsh, I think, is such a credit to his basketball IQ and acumen because he didn't do too much. He guarded. He took his plays when he took his spots when he could. And Black, he has a kind of an innate kind of natural feel for the game. A move that stuck out to me was on the fast break where he split the 2 guys with the Euro. It's just something you can't teach, man. So like I said, I'm a fan. I'm gonna see if this kind of keeps going on, but I promise you, if he keeps playing like this, he'll hear his name called within the first 10 names.
Yeah, because with that size as a point guard, with that size and that two-way ability, Like there just aren't a lot of dudes like that.
I don't know.
Can he shoot? How well can he shoot at Goodman?
I think he's decent. From that was kind of his probably the biggest weakness coming in. I mean, same thing with obviously Jordan Walsh is an athlete, right? I saw him play a good amount at the Peach Jam. He's a big time athlete, defender, not known to be a shooter. So that might hold him back a little bit. Black is more a streaky shooter than anything. And then we haven't even talked about him, but Brazil was freaking ridiculous tonight. Ridiculous.
He saved him. I mean, those 2 threes, the game was kind of, not out of hand, but they had it on hold, and those 2 threes kind of sparked a little life in him, especially the second one. So he played well. And those dunks, whew,
he is long and athletic.
How tall is he? 6'8"? How tall is he? 6'9"?
Yeah, like 6'10", like 6'9", 6'10".
6'9". Yeah.
Okay.
And he transferred from Missouri, and they've been raving about him. And he was like, when he transferred, I don't think anybody knew he was this good because Missouri, they were kind of irrelevant last year. He didn't put up big numbers. And certainly you didn't expect. And I think in the scout, it obviously the scout said, let him shoot it from 3. Because nobody was near him on those. And
part of the reason they weren't is because Kalkbrenner was guarding him. And I think that was part of Muss's game plan is like, okay, look, you're going to play out here. We know that he can't come out there and stay with you because he doesn't have the quick feet like that. So I think that was part of the game plan. And look, frankly, that's what makes Brazil so dangerous because he can play the 5 defensively and you can pull him out. And that's why you need big guys that can shoot at the next level. You mentioned Jordan Walsh. That dude can guard.
Yes.
Like that dude is an animal. That Arthur Kaluma is a really good player. Arthur Kaluma is a guy that could end up being a late first round draft pick. Arthur Kaluma looked horrible tonight for about the first 35 minutes. He made some plays down the stretch, but I'm sitting there watching him like, there's no way this dude is actually this bad. And I think it had everything to do with Jordan Walsh. Like that length, that athleticism. There's a lot of guys that have that. John, how many guys do you know that can build themselves entirely around being defense? Like that's pretty unique, especially for a kid, 5-star. What was he? Top 15 player in the country, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
I always used to say, being a defensive guy, if you can play defense, you can get on the court, right? And then everything else takes care of itself. And I think Walsh is kind of fitting into that mold. He's got a lot of guys like to score. He's got a lot of offensive guys, but you have to play him because the way he guards, the plays he makes. Like I said, I loved how he didn't try to force it like Kaluma was forcing it. And so I loved how he played. And he had one kind of athletic play where he almost dunked the dude. So that's just a credit to the coaching. His coaching before college, he's got all SEC, all defensive potential. I think he's going to be good.
Mm-hmm. What's the ceiling for this Arkansas team, Jeff, when they get Nick Smith back?
I mean, the biggest question for me was obviously the chemistry, right? And you got 11 of 13 guys that are brand new, bunch of transfers, which Muss has done a great job. He's used to that, right? From coaching the NBA, from obviously doing it at Nevada as a head coach with transfers and now at Arkansas. But the blend of the transfers and then the highly ranked freshmen, and it was like, all right, I don't know how this is going to work. It's certainly going to take a while. Arkansas last year, John, was not very good early and didn't really play anybody, didn't really beat anybody. And the fans hated me because I wouldn't rank them. And they just weren't that good early. And then they turned it on second half. And I figured they'd probably do something similar this year. But instead,
they're already like that is a Final Four caliber team right now. And they still have a lottery pick that's not playing. What I love about them is they have basically when Nick Smith gets back, I think they'll probably cut down that rotation to 6 guys. Maybe the Mitchell twins will each get like 5 or 6 minutes, but it's basically going to be those 6 guys. And they're all big. They can all play on the perimeter. They're all switchable. If you really wanted to, you could probably switch 1 through 5 when you have Anthony Black and Nick Smith out there. Those guys are both. What's Nick Smith? 6'4"?
Yeah,
right? Something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So you could be really switchable. You have freshmen that are 1, polished at the point guard spot, and 2, willing to defend like that. I don't know how you can come out of that thinking anything other than like, okay, Arkansas, like they can get back to a 5. They've been to back-to-back Elite Eights this team might actually be better than those other two teams. I don't think that's crazy to say, John, is it?
Yeah, I think and then those three freshmen they have, they're gonna get incrementally better as the season goes on. They're gonna get more comfortable. That's kind of the only reason why I took Creighton was because of the experience kind of factor. But once those guys get rolling and towards the end of the season, it's kind of funny you talk about Arkansas, 3 top ranked freshmen like they're Kentucky. Like it's like how him to be down there doing that is kind of crazy, but I'm excited to that's one of the teams I kind of got marked off. Like I just want to watch them from a fan perspective because they were so fun to watch. They were, it was fun, man. It was a fun game. Game of the year so far.
I mean, they've got these big time players, and part of the reason they've got them because they got momentum. They've done well, but they've also got NIL, and that combination, you're going to be able to compete for those top players. And again, the beauty of those guys, they're all different. The key is going to be, though, when Nick Smith comes in, right? Like, how much does he want to show he's the guy, especially after missing now the first, 5-6 games? Is he going to come in firing or not? I don't think he will. I mean, again, I don't know him super well, but everything I've been told and we have talked to him, he seems like a really good kid. But some of these kids are going to play for draft stock, and some aren't. Some are just going to say to themselves, you know what, like Dylan Mitchell of Texas, I am what I am. I'm buying into winning. I don't need my shots. Nick Smith, though, his draft stock is based on scoring. So that's going to be interesting to see. Jordan Walsh, are you okay averaging 8 points a game this year?
He should be, because if he does what he did tonight and maybe knocks down a couple more threes, like he's going to end up being a first round pick. Guys that can defend like that are very valuable if they can shoot. I would be more worried about Ricky Council, right? Because he's scoring a lot now. He got 19 shots tonight. When Nick Smith comes back, what happens if that goes to 8 or 9 shots, right? What happens to Devo Davis? Does Devo Davis come off the bench again? Is it something where he was the preseason SEC player of the year last year, right? And he came in this season and he ended up coming off the bench. When Arkansas went on their run last year, John, is when Devo accepted a role off the bench, and that's when they became really, really good. So what happens when you add this other shooter, this other shot maker into the mix? Are there going to be enough people willing to sacrifice? And I think that will end up being the key. But if there's one thing about Muss, he can find a way to get that done, and he's done it over and over and over again. All right, I'm putting both of you guys on the spot. Goodman, we're going to you first on this one. You have to buy into just one of those two teams, Creighton or Arkansas. Who are you buying into long term?
Boy, I never thought I'd say this, but Arkansas. Absolutely. I just think they can do it on both ends. When you get Nick Smith back, you've got a team that's going to be able to score at a high level, and I think they could be an elite defensive team. Like Creighton can't be an elite defensive team. They're going to be better than they've probably ever been, and they can score with anybody. I think Arkansas has a chance to be a top 10 team on both ends of the court.
Well, Creighton was a top 12 team on defense last year, but
they weren't top 10 though.
Yeah, there you go. John, go ahead.
I'm going Arkansas too. I mean, when you see what they put on the court, those kids have just started their college career. Yeah. Nick Smith is coming back. I do think that, the team looks like they're well coached. And when you get a group of athletes that look like they're well coached and that buy-in, that's when you win games. And so hopefully with Smith coming back, he's kind of learning and seeing, because at the end of the day, he's a scorer, but winning matters, man. Winning really matters to these guys, college guys. And,
it should,
especially
John. It should. Yeah, not to all of them. To some.
Not to all of them. Not to all of them, but winning matters also to go to the next level. That's what I kind of meant to say. So, hopefully Nick realizes that if Arkansas can stay a perennial top 10 team and win the SEC and go far in the tournament, I think Nick Smith scores. Who cares what he scores? He's going to be drafted at a high. So, yes. Hopefully he realizes that, checks out the pod, and take a little advice.
As much as it pains me to say this, I kind of think I have to take Arkansas too, because I thought that they were as impressive, and if not more impressive than Creighton. I thought that if there was a friendly whistle in the second half of that game, I think Creighton got the friendly whistle, and Nick Smith is not playing yet. So I can see where there's a more of a ceiling for Arkansas than there will be for Creighton moving forward. But for the record, I love both of these teams, and I would love to see them both in the Final Four. coming up in Houston. We are going to talk a little bit about this Arizona-San Diego State game later. Arizona was up by 15 at one point in the first half, and San Diego State made a run. They took a lead early in the second half. It's now 50-45 with about 14 minutes left in that game. While we wait for that to get a little bit closer to the end, let's talk about the first game that we saw in Maui today, Texas Tech and Louisville. And Texas Tech looked really good. They won by 32 points. They only scored 70. To me, the talking point here is the Louisville Cardinals and the Louisville basketball program, which is not, they're 0-5 right now. They are maybe the worst high major team in all of college basketball, Jeff. I don't think I ever would have predicted that happening. And the level at which they've fallen off and how quickly they've fallen off is frankly kind of shocking. What do you make of Louisville at this point and Kenny Payne, the start of a underwhelming start to a tenure?
I mean, you can't have scripted a worse start in every single phase for Kenny Payne. They're 0-5. They're the first ACC team to go 0-5 since Virginia in 1960-61. They've got 36 assists and 90 turnovers in their 5 games, which puts them at, I think, 353 out of 363 in turnover percentage. They had the fewest points today since 1981 when they scored 42 against Cincinnati. They missed out on DJ Wagner, their top recruit. They lost them to Kentucky, their arch nemesis. It's brutal. I mean, they've got some talent. They don't have a lot. Their backup point guard is Hersey Miller, who couldn't play at Tennessee State, right? Master P's son.
Yes.
I mean, it's awful. But here's the thing. I'm not there's some things he inherited that obviously he didn't inherit a great amount of talent. They were not great last year. Part of this goes to the previous regime and Chris Mack and their staff. They didn't leave them with a ton of really good guards or anything like that. But they do have a couple top 100 freshmen, Kamari Lands and Devin Reed. They do have one of the top transfers in Brandon Huntley Hatfield, who came over from Tennessee. They've got other top 100 players in their roster. I'm not saying top 100 players are everything, but Roosevelt, Wheeler, Mike James were top 100 players. L. Ellis and Sidney. L. Ellis was like the number 1 JUCO player in the country. Jalen Withers is talented. They should not be this bad. It's a joke right now how bad they are, how much of an embarrassment it is, how they didn't recruit other point guards in the portal. I know they missed on a couple, but you got to have somebody in there who can handle the ball because L. Ellis is not even really a point guard, and he's forced to play, 30 minutes at the point when that's really not what he is. He's a scoring guard who really should be playing off the ball as much as he's playing on the ball.
That's what I don't get. Like, you had a whole summer worth of transfers to look at. There was going to be some level of guard. Doesn't matter if they could actually play in the ACC or not. There would have been some point guard that would have said, hey, you know what? This is my chance to play at Duke, to play at North Carolina, to play at Syracuse, to play all of these ACC teams. How is your backup point guard Master P's son? Like, how is that the best situation you can run into? It's bad, man.
Some backroom conversations happen for that one, I'm trying to tell you. But no, I think, Louisville, among 1,521 high major programs or high major seasons since 2011, they're the first team with more than 80 turnovers and fewer than 40 assists in their first 5 games. All that tells me is they need to go bowling, team building. They need to skate.
Hey, you can't create a point guard though. You can't create one
for sure. But that tells me that they need to move. They need to play. They need to be cohesive. This is a team that's probably trying to get things done by themselves, and the things that started snowballing. And Kenny Payne coming from the NBA, when you snowball, you get traded, you get fired. So he's got to figure it out, right? So. It was a sight for sore eyes. I mean, they went 10 minutes without scoring a bucket. 10 minutes, that is crazy.
They had 4 field goals in the first half, right? 4 field goals.
So come on. They need to just, they need to take a day off and go to the Louisville Zoo and just kind of have a kumbaya and say something, right? Because I don't think they're that bad.
Hand in hand? Should they go to the zoo and all hold hands like little kindergartners?
And they need to play, hey, don't dribble. We're just going to pass the ball the whole practice. I mean, there's a lot of tricks, you know what I mean? But I think that's the biggest thing, the assist factor here.
Hey, Rob, my team building exercise, go to the Louisville Zoo and play like Duck, Duck, Goose.
Right. Something, man. Hey, look, man, just, I think back to North Carolina, right? We were struggling. I think it was my first year. We were struggling. Deion Thompson said, everybody showed up to my house. Everybody went to his house, man. We talked it out. We had a good time. We stayed in the house all night. We chatted. We hung out. And it kind of changed the dynamic of the team because it was a weird dynamic between the young guys and the old guys. And we kind of squashed that night, and we started improving and playing as a team. So there needs to be some type of meeting like that, in my opinion. It's not basketball, personally. I don't think it is.
Do you think the problem is that he came from the NBA and he thought he could tank for the number 1 pick? Is he trying to get Wembanyama? Is that what it is right now?
Kenny was my, when I was with the Knicks, I signed a couple of 10 days with the Knicks. Kenny was my, Kenny knows my dad. I was kind of close with him, man, when I was with the Knicks. And he's such a laid back, chill guy, man. I wonder what he said in that locker room, after the game. So hopefully he lit a fire under him.
My hot take
is today, Rob. I got a ton of texts today from people saying, could he be fired after this year? Could Kenny Payne be gone? Now, Kenny Payne was still Louisville royalty, right? He was on a team that won the national title. He is not going to be fired after 1 year at Louisville. There's no chance for that.
Well, I was about to say the issue to me is the building of the roster more than it is his ability to coach at this point. You have 2 guards, and let's be honest, right? The reason they look so bad tonight is because you can't have no guards and play against that Texas Tech no middle defense that
right.
Like you just have no chance with the way the Texas Tech guards. But to me, this is a lot more about like not getting the pieces in that you need to get in than it is about like, can he coach? We don't know because he doesn't have anybody that he doesn't have a point guard. Yeah. Can't do anything if you don't have a point guard.
Chris Mack got that place in shambles. We got to think about that as well. So you know what I'm saying? Like, give them a little time. They can't be this bad, for a long period of time because Louisville is a high-level basketball school.
It is.
Even in the summers up there, they got Montrez and Rondo and Terry Rozier. Those guys coming back. Like, this is not a school that's supposed to be 0-5, right? Like, so hopefully they figure that out, man.
Are you at all concerned about what this means for the ACC, like big picture? Right, because we've seen Florida State really struggle. Now Louisville's really struggling. BC, Goodman's favorite team, he predicted them to go to the Elite Eight this year. They really haven't been all that good. It's amazing that like we all came into this year saying Georgia Tech might be the worst team in that conference, and like they could finish in the top 10. Like they could finish 10th, and I would not.
That's not a good thing.
That's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. So, like, how worried are you about the bottom of this league, John?
I mean, Syracuse lost to St. John's. That's not good.
But come on, man, put a little bit of respect on Posh Alexander's name, okay? They have a first-team All-American point guard on the roster, Goodman. Hey, I don't know if you know about that, John. He put Andre Curbelo first-team All-American last year. Goodman did.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the guy had a couple concussions. Come on.
In the first 2 weeks, they've lost 11 games. And the ACC has lost 11 games to teams outside the traditional high major designation. That is scary. I mean, that's Pac-12-ish, right? So, the big dogs are going to have to hang their hats. And, it's going to have to be one of those, probably one of those years where those UVAs, the Dukes, and North Carolina's going to have to be like 15-2, 14-3 for any respect to happen. And, we'll see what happens. But it's not looking – I mean, Florida State lost to Stetson. I mean, I'm still hearing the kids screaming, run up and down the street up here. You know what I mean? Like it was a crazy loss, right? Like that's not supposed to happen. Stetson is like a warm-up game. You know what I mean? So it's cold.
No, you're right. There's got to be 4 or 5 teams at the top now. Carolina and Virginia have to be dominant. Duke's got to be very good. Virginia Tech already lost the game. They probably shouldn't have. Somebody else has to step forward because the bottom of the league, we're seeing it now. Louisville's going to stink. Florida State stinks. Pittsburgh stinks. Georgia Tech stinks. Those other ones.
Boston College lost by 20 to Tarleton State.
Yeah, Boston College. Right now, they're thin. Listen, I'm going to make excuses for the hometown team. They're without several key players. Listen, to me.
You sound like Sean Miller just raving about the Pac-12 last year.
I'm just
coming up with every excuse in the world. Any team from the state of Massachusetts, any team that is within a stone's throw of Boston, and Goodman's going to ride for them till the end.
Listen, Henson's going to have to defend South Florida at some point soon. So,
listen, man, I try to stay away from that bad omen that's over that place. I mean, if coming from locally coming up, it's just the location of the campus is a little rough. It's not in a good area where, Tampa really shows itself as you guys don't know University of Tampa, but it's on the water. Yeah. It's downtown. I mean, it's a whole. If USF was on the water downtown, we get some guys down there, but
some dudes had some
nobody.
money.
It's tough, and then you got UCF up the street. You got Florida State, Florida. You got Miami. Now, when I was coming up, we always took that official. Even when we weren't going to Miami, we took that visit. John Wall was down there with that. We were like, hey, look, let's go to Miami. Hey, let's just check it out. You know what I mean? So it's tough. It's tough. They're gonna have to use that NIL deal, kind of to maybe get things going. But I don't know if they got enough money because Miami's giving the guys millions from the LifeLock guy or whatever.
That's right. Johnny Ruiz getting it done.
I'm a big St. Pete Beach guy, John. Big fan of St. Pete Beach.
I love. Hey, we call that PCI Beach down here, man. Love PCI.
Goodman almost went there. He decided to go to Charleston. He bailed on it. He could have come and hung out with you. Could have taken you out to.
I didn't know.
There's no chance that he would have paid for dinner if you would have gone. He would have made you reach in your pocket.
Hey, you're within the city limits, man. It's on me, though.
But Don, here's the thing: we were gonna do it, and then Dauster's like, "Well, it's a little like low, like I don't know what you called it, but you were like, it's not like high class down there."
No, it's beachy, man. It's a beach town.
I wish like Clearwater Beach and St. Pete Beach, there is no, and you don't. It's not to say you will stay at a 5-star hotel, but there's no 5-star hotel down there, so that kind of lets you know how it is. Tampa's working on it. We got our first one downtown. So, but yeah, it's definitely not somewhere where you're going to go and just, be cutting steaks, at Ruth Chris, man. It's a fun place to go and hang out. I like it more so in the day vibes on the beach.
Yeah, 100%. It's a great place to go and like hang out during the day and drink some beers on the beach and a little bit of sun, get away from the cold up here in the winter. It's not. I don't know if you want to spend a month down there with your wife on a romantic trip, Goodman. I was doing you a favor. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Other than the fact that Charleston's about 10 degrees cooler, so I'm still going to need to bring a coat, a jacket.
You're going to eat 17 banana puddings a night, and just you're going to be okay. You'll be all right. All right. So before we move off the ACC, I want to ask you guys this. I got to ping you on it. I don't know if you've seen this, John, in our merch store. We have a shirt, KO right there, 9481, 8177. You know what that is? It's the knockout. It's the K-out. It's the K-out t-shirt. You get that Field of 68 .shop. If you are a North Carolina fan, I think you'll probably like it.
You see my Tar Heel bobblehead up there, man? Come on,
I like it.
There you go. All right. So who is the best team in the ACC, John? I'm putting you on the spot on this one. Are you going to go with UNC? You could be a homer if you want to here. You're allowed to.
I'm not going to be a homer. I've watched. I got to go UVA, man. I mean, if you're gonna take someone, you got to go UVA at the moment. I need to see what UNC does up in Portland and kind of how they look because, even with JMU, I mean, I feel like that should have been a lot less closer than it was. So this narrative, close games keeps coming by. So eventually someone's going to knock them down. So I'm a little worried about them. But UVA, they look good. They look solid defensively. They look good. They look scary, man. So I'm going to go with UVA, but UNC close second. Give them a close second.
How about that? An objective person on the pod here, John Henson, going UVA today. If you went to Duke, they'd disown you from the Brotherhood for saying that. By the way,
hey, listen, man, they're different over there, man. I don't know what they got going on. That's why I stayed away.
How much do you hate Duke?
You know what? I just have a very high level dislike for Duke because my sister did play basketball there. Okay. So Duke women's basketball, we're cheering for them, right? We're cheering Carrie Lawson over there. We love her. But Duke men's basketball, I mean, we just don't, we do things different. We're Tar Heel family. They're Duke Brotherhood. They took the whole family thing from us. They like to do a lot of hugs and all that touchy-feely stuff over there. Hey, look, guys, keep that across 10 miles down the road. We don't need all that.
So you don't want them at Franklin Street. You don't want them anywhere near Franklin.
You know what? They can come to Franklin Street, support our businesses. Please. Come on down.
Yeah. Fair. It's fair.
Yeah. You're going to be the mayor of Chapel Hill soon, man. I love it. Goodman, who's your favorite team? Or not your favorite team. Who is the best team in the ACC?
Yeah, today it is Virginia. John's right. Today it's Virginia. But again, last year, John, what you don't know is last year, we'll give you a quick Cliff Notes version. Carolina is playing at Mohegan Sun. Dauster and I are there. We do a show right after, and Carolina was terrible, absolutely terrible. They were embarrassed by Tennessee, and we do this show, and we called them soft, and they were like 5-10 feet away after the game.
We didn't realize they were walking right behind us. We're like, yeah, they're soft. They don't want to play defense. They're selfish, and they're like right there, just mean mugging us behind us on the camera. Like, oh,
so they remembered that. So like, it was classic. I get the microphone at the Final Four, and I hadn't seen him again since then in person. And right when I get the microphone, Armando looks at me and with a big, big smile, and he's like, "I've been waiting for this all year." And he was cool about it, but he was like, "Look, we turned this shit around. We turned this shit around. We did get tough." That's my big thing. Are they reading their press clippings now? Are they feeling? And to me, Caleb Love has to be the key for this team because he can't play for the NBA. He's got to play for a national title. He's got to understand, and you know this better than anybody, first of all, share the ball. Number two, play inside out. Get the ball to Mondo, and it's going to make life easier for you and RJ and Pete Nance and everybody else.
Yeah, I think there's something that to be said of that because I don't know if there's an established hierarchy, right? When I was in school, we were number one, right? Even though Harrison Barnes was the guy, Z was our first guy, Harrison was our second, and we go from there. And we fill in where we get in, where we fit in. And it was kind of understood. We were mature enough to understand, and we also knew we were all going to be fine if we won, right? So it's interesting now with them, it's not necessarily being NBA prospects, high-level NBA prospects. Now it's about winning, right? So, hey, look, if Armando's the guy, hey, you're the guy, we feed off of you. Like, I don't know if Caleb and RJ are guys that may have got that message or want to accept that, but it has to be a hierarchy and we go from there, right? And if they can do that, man, I think they'll be fine. And I think they're still figuring that out. And even defensively, I think they could be a lot better as well. But time will tell because these close games could be throwing us off. They could come there and they could win close games against these good teams as well, right? This could be kind of a good test for them, not being a blowout. So yeah, I'm excited.
I think we're going to learn so much about them this week in Portland, right? Because I think I wonder how much.
Wait. Are you? They've got Portland in the first game. Then they probably, if they win, they get probably Villanova in the second game. Villanova has not been great. And in the final game in their bracket, they'll probably get one of these four: UConn, Oregon, Alabama, or Michigan State. Now I know they could lose to those, but are they really going to lose to Villanova?
Yeah, well, Villanova is tough as hell. They're probably going to have Cam Whitmore back at some point, right? They are tough. They don't give up. They don't quit. If you're not going to show up ready to play and ready for a fight against Villanova, you're probably going to lose, no matter who you are, right? They're just too experienced. They're not going to beat themselves. And then whether it's UConn, whether it's Michigan State, I think it's going to be one of those two that ends up coming out on that side of the bracket. Like those are both veteran, tough teams that you're not going to be able to walk right over. Now, they're not like, it's not like you're going to be getting another top 5 team, but if North Carolina plays it the way that they played against Charleston, against Wilmington, against some of these other bye games, against one of Villanova, UConn, Michigan State, doesn't matter who it is, they're going to get beat. So I'm curious to see, are they going to show up? Are they going to show out? Are they going to go out here and national television look like the team that made it to the Final Four last year? Or is it going to be another thing where it's kind of like, okay, maybe they actually are who they were in November and December last year? And also, I wonder, I know they all got a bag in NIL, right? Coming back to school. I wonder how much that impact that has had. Like, are their focus kind of scattered at this point? Are they worried about, I got this sponsor, I got this guy. Armando Bacot's got a burger named after him on Franklin Street. It's at a restaurant there.
That is definitely a pertinent distraction. I mean, to be honest, if I had half a million coming in, I don't know if I would have blocked that many shots. I'm just going to be honest with you guys, So it's something to take into account. And like you said, this week is may not be playing great teams, but these are teams that they should beat. And these are teams if they are who we think they are, they should roll through this. Maybe have a tough game. I'm not saying blow everybody out, but they should roll through this, go home and get ready for Indiana Big Ten Challenge. I think that's going to be their biggest test today. It's at Indy, I believe.
Yeah.
So they get and they start rolling and they knock those guys off, then we start talking, right? But we just got to see. We got to sit and wait because they haven't played anybody yet.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the Big Ten. Ohio State blew out Cincinnati today. It's kind of been a theme, right? The Big Ten has had a lot of big wins. They dominated the Big East in the Dave Gavitt games. And Maryland's looked really good. Michigan's been better than anybody thought they were going to end up being. Iowa has been awesome. Chris Murray looks like he might actually be better than his brother. Yeah, there's been a lot of teams that look. I think Michigan is the only team in the Big Ten that we could look here and say, yeah, you know what? They really have not lived up to expectations. Even Ohio State. I know they lost to San Diego State, but they beat a good Cincinnati team by 30 tonight. Okay, so what do you? I had this argument with T.O. the other day, and he says that the Big Ten is just overrated. What happens is you got a bunch of veteran teams, veteran players, guys that are finished products that are going to play really well early on in the year, and then by the time we get to the end of the season, when everybody else is caught up and all of these star freshmen end up hitting their ceilings, when all these new transfers end up figuring things out, then the Big Ten is just kind of who they are. I disagree because I think that if you look at the best teams in the Big Ten, whether it's Illinois, Maryland, Michigan State to a point, there's a lot of teams that can match up and not have to rely on just having a big body, a big Kofi Coburn inside. So Goodman, where do you stand on this? Is the Big Ten, have they impressed you? Is it just more of the same? Where do you stand on this conference as a whole?
Yeah, I probably agree a little bit more with T.O. just because you look at some of the teams that have surprised, right? Maryland, well, they're older. They're older. They brought in a couple veteran transfers with some older dudes back and a new voice in Kevin Willard, really good coach. Obviously, Turge wasn't bought in last year. He left after whatever it was, 6 games. Indiana, older for the most part, brought in a couple good freshmen again, Jalen Hood-Schifino and Malik Renault, but those guys are more like pieces this year. Even Hood-Schifino is going to be a lottery pick. Purdue, Iowa, I'm more apt to agree with Terrence on this, that I think the SEC has higher upside guys. They have guys that are coming out of the gates and we don't expect them to do as much. Alabama, Arkansas, who did come out of the gates well today, Auburn, they've got more freshmen, more high level guys, high ceiling guys. So yeah, I kind of worry and just we've seen it. We've also seen it with the Big Ten. They haven't done anything in the tournament.
No, John? I concur. I agree with that. You think about the league style of play, grind it, slug it out, physical style of play, right? And you translate that to March, that leaves less room for error, less possessions. And so, you got these high flying, high wire, talented teams that come in and these guys are comfortable. They're playing well. Hey, they're trying to play for their professional lives as well, not just to win a championship. You come against you may come against a team like Arkansas that may play against a Michigan State or Iowa or something that in the final Sweet 16, and they might run into a buzzsaw. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of translate that over, but it hasn't yet to be seen. When they kind of get a tournament and it's up and down, it's neutral, it's all types of variations in play. They can't adjust.
So I think it's both. I think overall the Big Ten is better than I thought it was going to be, mainly because some of the teams in the middle of the league look like they're probably going to be in that top 25 range. I think Michigan State qualifies. I think Maryland qualifies. I think Iowa qualifies. I'd even say Purdue qualifies. I still don't think that there is a Final Four threat here, and I would not be surprised if every team in the Big Ten was knocked out by the Sweet 16. So the league as a whole, I think, is better than I thought they were, but there's no great team. There's no one that you look at like Creighton. There's no one that you look at like Arkansas. There's no one that you look at like Houston, where you're just like, you see them play once, you're like, yeah, that team can win a title. I think Illinois got that ceiling, and I actually think Indiana is better than I give him credit for. I think the Renault kid is really good. He's awesome. He brings another dynamic because he can shoot it. He's skilled. He's a little bit more versatile than Race Thompson is, but there's just no one in that conference where you look at them and you're like, I don't know how we beat them. I don't know how we play them. I don't know how we deal with them. All right. Arizona's up 15 here. There's about 6 minutes left in this game. Goodman, I know that's your alma mater. I know that you are in no way going to be able to talk about them without being somewhat biased, but they look really good. Their offense is in midseason form. They lost Ben Mathurin. They lost they lost Dallin Terry a year early. They lost all of these great players, and they haven't missed a beat. What is happening with these Wildcats?
Yeah, it surprises me, to be honest. I mean, you lose 3 NBA players, and you bring back enough, right? Tubelis is awesome. And I don't know how I didn't put him on a preseason All-American team. I think the problem was we saw Tubelis down the stretch, and I really think he was hurt. And he's such a tough kid. He never used it as an excuse. Tommy Lloyd never used it as an excuse for the kid, but he's tough. We know Kirk Kriisa. He plays with energy. He can be up and down. I think he's certainly been a lot more. He already had triple-double this year. You know, my big thing was,
where's your head? You're talking about Arizona. And you don't have the Kirk Kriisa headband on.
I do have the headband, but if you're watching the game right now, Kerr is wearing a different headband. This was a headband from Kerr, John, in case you're wondering.
Nice. Okay.
So I look really good in it, don't I?
I mean, listen, if I was in the rec league and I was like, hey, I had to pick a guy just off looks, I'm picking you first for
That's
sure.
what I'm saying. I mean, there's no question I'd be the first pick. But Kerr is wearing a thinner. Look at the headband he's wearing right now. It's not the same headband, and I wonder if he's upset at me or something. And he decided,
no, you know what it is. He saw you put that one on. He's like, "There's no way I can ever look that good."
Probably.
I got to change what I'm doing here.
But Courtney Ramey tonight, yes. And remember, he got suspended for the first few games for signing with an 8, going through the Portsmouth process, going to Portsmouth Invitational, the dumbest shit ever, John. He goes to Portsmouth and he gets suspended when other kids are getting $500,000 a year, $1 million a year for NIL, and like just rip up the rule book at this point because it's antiquated, it's stupid, and so he got suspended. So he's been back. This is his second game. He's been absolutely awesome tonight. He's got 21 points. I don't think he's missed a shot from beyond the arc. Was that him again?
Mm-hmm.
Another one. They're now up 19 points over a pretty damn good San Diego State team, a really, really good defensive San Diego State team. And Arizona might be for real, guys. They might be for real.
I think they are, John. I think that they really are. And I want to ask you this. How hard is it in college to lose that amount of talent to the NBA and then come back the next year and just like start it all over again and not miss a beat?
It's just tough, but it's a testament to a program's coaching, their culture. And so I think Arizona has that. I mean, I always say that if Arizona was on the East Coast, I mean, you know, the whole country would probably know all their players to be household names. But, you know, such, you know, late games and stuff, it kind of stinks. But and it'd be scary if they're on the West, because the players they get being on the West Coast, because Arizona was actually one of my favorite schools. Only reason I did not go there is because I didn't know if Luke was going to be coaching. I didn't know where, you know, so I decided, but I loved Arizona. That campus, the city, the environment, they're going to be a powerhouse until we can't breathe anymore, right? Like they're that good, and this year they look a lot better. You know, they got 2 bigs. I love the 2 bigs.
Of course you do.
Love the 2 bigs, and the guard plays good, and losing, you know, a guy that's he's averaging with Mathurin's averaging like 18 per game this year. Yeah. So for them to reload like that, they're gonna be sneaky on the West Coast, and in the tournament they gotta make some noise, you know. So
are you worried at all about them playing with those 2 bigs, right? Are you worried about the way that they match up with someone that's gonna space the floor a little bit? Like we saw Creighton plays basically with 4 around 1, and we saw them struggle with an Arkansas team that wants to play 5 out. Are you worried all about the way that Arizona can match up with a team like that?
Yeah, I am, but I'm not, because they can right now. They got Ballo in, and they got the other big on the bench. So I think they can play like that as well. They can interchange them. Obviously, when it's a faster team, Ballo's probably not going to be able to play as much. I don't know, but it's also to their benefit. They got 2 bigs down there that can bully guys, which is what they've been doing, as of late.
Mm-hmm. I mean, San Diego State also. I know they obviously added. Key transfer in Darren Tremmel, who's actually played pretty well in this game, but they're not known for their scoring, and this team isn't quite as good defensively as San Diego State has been in the past. And I think Arizona, again, their numbers, what they've done over the first few games is insane, right? They're averaging over 100 points. I think it's like the first team. I think it was something like the first team in the last 15 years to average over 100 points and shoot over 60% in their first 4 games. Incredible. They're not going to get 100.
Their lowest coming into this turn or coming into tonight, the least amount of points they scored in the game was 95, right? They were shooting 48% from three as a team. 48% from three. There are NBA teams right now that aren't averaging 104 points in a game. That's what Arizona was averaging coming in. They're scoring 80 right now at the under 4 timeout. And we're like, yeah, you know what? This is kind of an off night. They put up 80 points. They're shooting 60% from the floor and they're shooting 44% from three. It's like, yeah, this was kind of an off night for them. They didn't play great. They didn't play their best. That's wild.
I just think, again, Tommy Lloyd's system is such that he's going to recruit a bunch of guys that obviously are skilled, that move the ball. But it is surprising playing with those two bigs that they've been this good offensively, right? That they're putting up those offensive numbers.
Goodman, let me ask you this. How sustainable is it, right? Like how much, I know it's not all Sean Miller's guys, and a lot of it is Tommy bringing them in and getting them to play an entirely new style, even the guys that were left over. But is this, if you're going to have that level of turnover, like is he going to be able to get this thing going the way that Gonzaga is going right now, where he always has pros coming in over and over?
Arizona. It's Arizona. He just needed momentum in year one. That was the best thing that could happen to him, right? It was getting wins right out of the gate so you could take advantage of recruiting. He's going to get his guys internationally. That's not the issue. He's got to get the guys here, and he's already done a pretty good job of taking advantage of the momentum he's gotten through winning in year one, because again, it is Arizona, and kids on the West Coast, if you want to stay close to home, there's only a couple, blue bloodish type programs out there. It's UCLA, it's Arizona for the most part. Duke and Carolina and Kentucky and Kansas aren't all coming out, for everybody. So Arizona's going to get those kids. And frankly, they're going to have a better shot at getting them than UCLA right now because of their style of play. I mean, there'll be some kids that want to stay in LA that don't want to leave, but a lot of those kids are going to look at the way this team is playing right now and say, shit, I want to play in that type of offense with that type of freedom.
They got 6 guys averaging double figures. John, if you were being recruited, saw someone coming off the bench, averaging 10 points a game, putting up 100 a night. Is that enticing?
Yeah, for sure. And that was something that, when I went to school, when I was looking in North Carolina, they had guys that were 5 guys were averaging over 10 points. And, Coach Williams always used to say, hey, look, we need to run the ball. Y'all want to score, right? Y'all want to average points. So, I like how Arizona's doing that, because if you look down the roster, all those guys are playing. They're scoring high level, high octane offense. And I think Jeff made a good point. There's only a couple schools out west that you would really want to go to unless you want to come east. And I was the opposite. UCLA and Texas and North Carolina, my final 3. UCLA, I flew out there. It was just too far. It was too far, man, for me to come all the way from Florida. But it was actually my favorite school, So I think that's something to say too. That Arizona's the school. If you're a West Coast guy and you want to stay close to home, I mean, it's Arizona, maybe UCLA, maybe, right? Now you gotta go back east.
All right. So we teased this a little bit earlier. Final 4 locations. We had the announcement for the 2027 through the 2030 final. It's wild that we're talking about 2030 Final Fours. I've never felt older in my entire life. But so here's the next 8 Final Four locations. Houston this year, Phoenix in 2024, San Antonio in 2025, Indianapolis in 2026 and 2029, Detroit's in 2027, Las Vegas, Goodman's favorite, 2028. And they're listing it as North Texas. I believe that's just like Dallas, Fort Worth, right? In 2030. Goodman, I know you have some very strong opinions about these locations.
Well, again, I've already voiced my opinion for Vegas. We don't need to do much more than that. I tweeted at the Cosmopolitan earlier today and asked them if I could book a room now for 2028. I think they said 10 months is the furthest you can go in advance. So I got to.
Did they actually answer you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They got right back to me. Yeah. So I also tweeted, John, that Detroit should not be a Final Four city. It should not. Last time I was there, it snowed. It snowed for the Final Four. I went over the border to Canada to play a little blackjack. That actually wasn't that hard to get over there and back, so that was fine. But I don't want to be in a cold weather city for the Final Four. There's no reason for it. It's easy. Just rotate between 4 places, okay? Vegas, we got that now in the rotation. Keep that in the rotation. New Orleans, got to keep it in the rotation. It's warm, great food. Everybody in a one area. You see everybody, fans, this great atmosphere. San Antonio, warm, great atmosphere. The Riverwalk, you see everybody, not too far from the arena. And then Indy is the one that maybe people will push back on me for, and I get it. Sometimes it's warm, sometimes it's not, but a great atmosphere. Again, everything is compact there. You see everybody, coaches, fans, media, whoever. You get that experience. So those are the four to me. Detroit was not happy. I don't know if Trevor's already put up the tweet, some of the tweets I got in return from my tweet about that Detroit was the wrong place to have it. But even the newspaper, the Free Press, tweeted back at me. They were pissed off. I think they said, delete your tweet, Jeff. It's no knock on the city. Here we go. All right. So you got somebody, hey, Jeff, shut up. Delete this. My favorite one was suck a bag, dude. Roseanne sucked. Because everybody, the John Goodman reference to Roseanne, I get that quite a bit.
If you keep eating 3 banana puddings at every meal, you're going to end up looking like John.
I'm going to look bigger than John Goodman soon. You're absolutely right. But yeah, I mean, listen, Detroit, the summer, fine. I'm good. I'm in. But like early April when it might snow, hell no. I wouldn't have it in Detroit. I wouldn't have it in Boston, where I'm from. Let's go somewhere warm in which everything is walkable.
That's my biggest thing, right? That's why I'm so anti-Houston and anti-Dallas for the Final Fours, because you have to drive everywhere. And I don't know if you've ever driven into those cities, but it's impossible to get like anywhere in those cities. Everything is just so spread out. You got to take an Uber anywhere you want to go. There's no I don't want to say no downtown, because there are downtowns, there are pockets, there are areas where there's bars, but you have to go over here to go to the stadium. You have to go over here to go to the hotels. And then there's this cool little night spot. There's clubs over here. And this is where you go for this. If you go to the 4 cities that Jeff mentioned, everything's right there, right? It took us 10 minutes to walk from the bar where we did all our live shows in New Orleans to the hotel. It took 10 minutes to get from the hotel to Bourbon Street. It took 10 minutes to get from Bourbon Street back to the bar where we were doing all of our live shows. Everything was right there. We were literally across the street from the casino all day at the brewery doing our live shows, which is right next to the hotel where all the coaches were, which was a block away from where Intersport was having a 3-on-3 national championship. Everything is there, right? In Indianapolis, I don't know if you've ever been there for like an event like that. Everything is right. You never, ever have to get in a car. You drive in from the airport, then you walk everywhere, and then you drive back to the airport. And
everything is pretty much connected, right? So you don't even have to walk outside, right? So
yeah.
Go through. I like that. That's kind of cool, because see, I was like, when I heard Phoenix, Phoenix is sneaky, but I don't think Phoenix is walkable.
No, not even close.
Yeah, so like,
because you want to be in Scottsdale.
You want to be in Scottsdale, and then but I think the games will be downtown, so it's going to be interesting. But the Vegas, I mean, they should do like the Super Bowl, right? If it doesn't have an average temperature of 55 degrees, just mark it off the list, right? You know what I'm saying? So, like I said,
spoken like a true Florida man right there. Spoken like a true Florida man.
Yeah, so, like I said, the Vegas is very intriguing because, play a little blackjack. You can walk over to T-Mobile Arena, you get dinner. You don't have to take a car. And the environment is probably going to be absolutely, I mean, I hear these hockey games and these games that are they're like parties. Like, the Raiders games are like parties. So that'll be a fun time. That'll be a fun time.
Goodman, you got anything else to add? You want to apologize to the people of Detroit?
No, I feel no need to apologize to people from Detroit. I know they don't want me there. They don't want me in Minneapolis either. It's tough.
Can I say I actually thought the Final Four in Minneapolis was fine. Like I enjoyed Minneapolis as a
cold. It was cold.
It was cold and it was wet and it was rainy. But for the most part, there were good restaurants. We found a couple really fun spots to go out. Right. I thought that overall, the Minneapolis experience was it left a good taste in my mouth. Whereas Houston and Dallas, not necessarily, it's just such a pain to get anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my only thing. The ease of having that feel where you go to a big event. Listen, anyway, this was fun. We've been here for an hour and 10 minutes now. Our producer Trevor is texting me saying, cut it. I want to get some sleep tonight. So I think it's time to let him go, let him take a nap. He's been working his ass off, though. Trevor and Dagan and Jacob, those guys kill it for us. So for our production crew, for Jeff Goodman, for John Henson, my name is Rob Dauster. We'll